Three, two, one.
Welcome to episode 2 of the Popaholics podcast. It is September 24th, 2019. I am one of your hosts here, Franklyn McInnis, and of course I have with me my co-host here, Collecting Plastic.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
And in this podcast, we have a couple of things that we want to touch on, but I got to go and tell you, Collecting Plastic, last time you told me to check out the trailer for Thundercats Roar. And I
Awesome,
definitely
right?
wanted to address that because I actually did check it out right after the last podcast, and seldom am I surprised. And I was like, what is going on here when I checked out that trailer? And I did go back and even watched it again before, we started on this podcast, because I was like, let me just get a feel for that again, because I knew I wanted to address it. And yeah, I don't know what they're thinking with that.
If it sees the light of day, I'll be surprised, man, because I just don't. Who is that for? Like, I don't think little kids are into Thundercats. And then, old watchers of that show, like our age, we're not going to watch something like that. It's just an
Yeah.
abomination.
Yeah, I completely agree. I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, I don't know who that's aimed at, because what it really feels like to me is like somebody had in mind that they wanted to do just like a silly, over the top cartoon, and then they realized they could, get the rights to Thundercats to tie that to it. It doesn't feel like, even though of course they have a creator up front speaking, saying, "Oh, I grew up on Thundercats," and they had that love for it, but it just feels like they're placing a familiar name on something that they already had in mind, basically. So, and it's funny, if you look
Uh-huh.
it up on YouTube, there are videos going back and forth, like Thundercats Roar is still happening, Thundercats Roar is canceled, and it's just back and forth. Like nobody knows what's
Yeah,
going
it's
on.
nobody knows what's going on, and I don't even know what's worse. I don't know if that footage of Thundercats Roar is worse, or that creator, I forget his name, that bizarre, like it's not really a man bun. Like it's like, what
Yeah,
is that? He looks like a Pebbles and Bam Bam or something, or like a child, like a toddler's hair, where you just put a
yeah.
little weird knot. I'm like, what is that hair? That disturbed me as well.
And I won't lie, and usually I don't, notice things like that, but that made it even more seem surreal. Like, is this really happening? Like, is
Yeah.
or what? So it'll be interesting to see if that pans out. I'm gonna have to watch at least one episode just out of curiosity if it does happen. But yeah, we'll see exactly what goes on with that in the future. But yeah, I definitely wanted to touch on that before we get into our main topic here, which I think you're actually one of the first people I heard that used this term, FOMO, and you want to go and let the people know exactly what that is if they're not sure.
Oh yeah, FOMO. I mean, of course, a bunch of people have said it. It's been around
Yeah.
forever, but I started kind of like attributing it to Funko Pop collecting as well. Yeah, and FOMO starts. It means fear of missing out, right? Which is pretty natural with Funko Pops, given the nature of how they go up in price. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And to be clear up front, I do want to let people know we're not going to look at it completely in a negative light, because, like you said, it's a natural part of collecting. But I think especially around convention time, like you just feel the tension in the air right now.
Yeah.
New York Comic Con is close. New York Comic Con, like we talked about last time, really does have a great selection of pops. So people are on edge already. Like you can really feel it. And I know on my channel, of course, a lot of questions come in. I just see people really worrying and stressing. And to me, it can take the fun out of collecting. That's my
Well,
biggest
yeah,
issue with it.
because you really do feel anxiety. Like
Yeah.
like today. So just before this, I started clicking around. Let me see, let me get like a fresher on what we're going to talk about. And I see that Amazon went live
Yeah.
with their exclusives, and of course are sold out. And how random is it? It's not even close to New York Comic Con. Well, I mean, it's close, but we're still a long ways away. And Amazon just decided to randomly put out the Iron Man with the gauntlet. And it's
Yeah.
just like,
And
what?
but let's be clear, because already you just gave some people cardiac arrest.
Yeah.
They are temporarily sold out. Okay,
Yeah.
temporarily sold out. They're not completely gone. And I'll say this, even with the con, because during the con, those figures will become available again. They do have Tony Stark. They have Iron Man, and then they also do have, I believe his name is Benson, the dummy from Toy Story. So
Yes.
they have those two pops. They are temporarily sold out. They'll become available during the con, but even beyond that, more than likely they'll get a restock at some point.
At
Um,
some point is the
yeah,
thing, and I think
exactly.
that's where the whole you start to get this paranoia that you are gonna miss out. It's just like, dude, what am I gonna sit here and like look at Twitter all day for the next week and to see when that's gonna go live? And it's just that it drives me nuts. You know?
Yeah, it's that randomness that really concerns people, and I think part of it is just being involved in the community, being involved in collecting, and giving it some time, and you start to see patterns. With certain retailers, to where, okay, if you know Amazon well, after a while, they're gonna go early, just
Hmm.
like they did.
Hmm.
They're gonna be available again during the con, and then after a while, you give it some time, more than likely they will restock. That's the pattern I've seen with them. Some other retailers are have a similar pattern going on. Like sometimes Walmart is early, and then may or may not be available during the actual con, but they definitely tend to have restocks as well. As a matter of fact, I would say this: if you go back and you look at the value of some previous figures, that'll give you a good idea of which ones tend to get restocks at which retailers.
Yeah, and I've also noticed too with Amazon, like they'll do this, they'll put out some early. I don't know if it's a mistake and somebody let them out early, so they go, "Oh shit, cut it off," or if it's a way to like create hype, and make people
Yeah,
think that the billions that they have are gonna sell out. I don't know what the rhyme or reason to it is, but I have noticed that sometimes after a con, all of a sudden the pop will go back into stock and it'll be in stock for a
yeah.
long time. Which makes me think that some of the Amazon ones are the ones that have the highest numbers. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if there is 30,000 or 40,000 of those Tony Starks, in Amazon
Yeah.
stock.
Well, I think what's going on with it, because you notice that if you've ever seen one of those early links, it doesn't look like your average link. A lot of times there's no picture to go along with it. I think
Hmm.
somebody has just kind of learned that there's sort of this backdoor way to get to
Yeah.
items early. They get listed early. And usually Amazon actually does hold to those pre-orders. Sometimes they get canceled though. I've seen that happen before.
Yeah, you're
So
probably right about that. It probably is like not a legit release, and yeah, somebody's figured out how to backdoor their system.
yeah, exactly. And which is very common with stores, because there are already, these pre-order links and that are set up for other retailers, even though they're not active yet. People already know where to go to
Hmm.
find them. And a lot of times on my channel, I don't bother to share them, because
Yeah, it's just
then
annoying.
yeah, then I have to explain to people it's not live yet. You're still gonna have to wait. And then a lot of times people forget too, so it's like I just don't bother with that. I wait until things actually go live, and then I will try to help out people in that way. Although I got to go ahead and be honest with this New York Comic Con, I'm probably not going to worry about community posts this time, because what it mainly did for me with SDCC is cause me to lose sleep. And that's the thing that drives me crazy about the whole FOMO thing, is I
Hmm.
think it causes a lot of people to stress and to lose sleep, and it's just not that serious. You know,
Yeah.
um I think as a collector, you got to learn that there are some things, yes, you need to jump on them day one, but the majority does not have to be day one. It's about really learning what's going to be gone day one. And we both have been collecting for a while, so we can take our guesses on that, of what you need to get right away.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to tell. Like I thought, going back to how we were talking about Asuka, I thought Asuka from Evangelion was gonna sell out, but it's still available.
Yeah.
So it's hard to tell. But let me pull up. I don't know if you want to keep talking about something else while I pull up the actual New
Well,
York Con.
I'm gonna go ahead and say this. I think anime fans should know by now, if it's Dragon Ball, if it's My Hero Academia, go ahead and get it.
Yeah.
If it's an ad icon, go ahead and get it. But there are certain, if you're hearing a lot of buzz, this is why else you need to be connected to the community. If people are all a buzz about something, then you better go ahead and get it, just in case. I would say also certain Disney ones, like that Up 2 pack we talked about last time. We
Hmm.
knew that was going to be gone. That was pretty obvious, because, like I said, if you're involved in the community, all that buzz around it, that it's going to be gone. So yeah, you got to pay attention to what is that day one, and then you'll realize what are some things that probably could wait, and if you don't get it right away, don't stress over it.
Yeah, you can prioritize. Like there was some that I actually like. The Carl and Ellie are really good ones. I really like them, but there are some that I wanted more than that one, but I knew that that was going to sell out first. Like I think this con, definitely the Samurai Jack 2 pack, I think is going to be a day one sellout. Like you have to get that one. The My Hero Academia, like you mentioned,
Yeah,
maybe that Avatar pop, the Cabbage Man. I hear a lot of people talking about that one.
yeah,
Maybe the Dwight with the bobblehead, just because that's so popular. But some of these other ones, like Missandei, I know Game of Thrones is really popular. I think that's gonna be around for a while,
yeah.
and so is probably the Back to the Future one, the 2001, the Edgar Allan Poe. I don't see those selling out, or Dune. I don't see that selling out either.
Yeah, and like I said, we've been collecting long enough to where we know that, for example, Barnes and Noble. I mentioned this last time. Barnes and Noble usually their exclusives are overproduced.
Hmm.
Um, they get plenty of them. They have those rare occasions where there's one that, you better go ahead and get it or it's going to be gone. For example, I don't think I can't remember if it was last year or the year before, but remember when they had Pepe Le Pew? Um,
Yeah.
he was pretty popular, and I don't think he was heavily produced either because I know at mine they only got a few of those. So they do have those rare figures,
Yeah, I had to
sometimes.
get lucky to get Pepe Le Pew. I
Yeah,
remember, I think I had a whole story about that on my channel, but I remember missing out on that one, and then the manager just happened to have like two left, and we both got them, and there was a bunch of people that wanted it, missed out. But I think the one that I thought was pretty notorious for Barnes and Noble that they only got two at my Barnes and Noble was that Scareglow Masters of the
oh
Universe.
yeah, yeah,
That one
absolutely.
was very underproduced, man.
And what's crazy is, okay, that one didn't have a lot of buzz around it, and I picked it up. I just happened to pick it up at the time. I wasn't even like really into collecting Masters of the Universe, but when I saw it up close, I was like, I like that. I like the look of it, so I went ahead and picked it up. And of course, that's what it really comes down to with collecting. Go with what you like. I think a lot of people they stress over, well, what's going to be valuable later on,
Hmm.
and I'm not going to completely criticize that. I know that is some people's focus. They enjoy collecting for value, but I just see that as another, add another stress basically added on into collecting. So I would say, definitely go for what you are interested in. But when you go into a store and, especially on the day of a con, the first day of a con, if you see figures sitting there, like these huge stacks of figures, and then you see one particular figure where there's only maybe two or three sitting there, if you're interested at all, you better go ahead and go for that.
Yeah.
Because there's no telling if it's going to be, reproduced at any time or go back into stock. Scare Glow, I don't think I ever saw it available again.
No, and see, and that's the hard thing about, hunting at the stores versus online. Because online, we really don't know how many they have. When the store, it's very clear. Like when you've gone on con days and you look through the window and you see a gigantic stack of one pop and then maybe five or six of another, and it's somewhat like recognizable, you know that that's going to go up in value like a lot.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, but you just can't tell online. And it's also like, I don't know. If it's something you don't want, I mean, I guess what are you gonna do? You're gonna buy one because they usually just let you buy one anyway. It's like you're gonna buy one to what? Just resell it, and then just go
yeah.
through that trouble, I guess. But yeah, I don't know.
And that's something else. I'm glad you mentioned that. So that's something else people got to consider, that there are some stores that will set limits. So you really got to think about what do you mostly want and what can wait, because again, some things may be available later on. It's definitely tough to judge online because I think a lot of people thought that teal chrome Batman was going to be gone. And
Yeah.
that sat on GameStop's website forever. And who knows? I don't know if it's still there or not. I wouldn't be surprised if it still is, though. But it ended up being, produced in a larger number. So
And that was strange to me
yeah,
because at the Barnes and Noble I went, or at the GameStop I went to, they only had like four of those.
yeah, it was a weird release, but there was plenty available for online. And they tried to do that bundle thing again, which I don't think too many people went for that. So yeah, they still had it available. Yeah, it's
That's
it's
probably
definitely
why.
tough to gauge online though, but again, there's just certain ones that you really pay attention, they're going to be gone. Now, I do want to ask you though, while we're on this topic, like what experience have you had with, like, what's your most time that stands out to you of having that fear of missing out on something?
When it comes to pops, because honestly, there's been concerts and things where like FOMO has hit me more with that. But when it comes to pops, oh man, let me see.
There is one con. I'll go ahead and be honest. One con where I know I was I started with a plan, and my plan quickly went because there was so much good stuff. And we actually already kind of mentioned this con. It's 2017. And that was the year of Scareglow. I did end up grabbing that one. Like I
Hmm.
said, it wasn't hype around it, but then I think what really had people on edge was the physical, the Funko pop-up shop that year, because they actually did set up a physical store that year.
Oh yeah, and then people were waiting like a day before, right?
Yeah, people were camping out. Some of those did go online, and some did go onto the the actual Funko shop website,
Hmm.
and boy, did that have people stressed.
Yeah.
That was the year there were pops like it had the the flock Scooby Doo's. That's when they
Hmm.
started that up with the flock Scooby
Then they
Doo's
had
going
what
on.
the Were Rabbit two
Yeah,
pack, I
that
think.
one
Yeah.
which a friend almost got that for me. He was literally like I think maybe the second or third person in line when they finally sold out of it. And I'm like, it happens, but also they had the Super Daffy that year as well, Super Daffy Duck.
Yeah, that's one I really wanted, but I knew it was gonna be hard to get.
Yeah, so that definitely had people on edge, and then overall it was a pretty solid selection that year. So yeah, people were definitely worried about some of those that year.
Now that I think about it, one that I was kind of stressing about getting there early and really thinking of a game plan because I really wanted it was that Killing Joke Joker. That's one that I had to get, and I thought it was going to be harder to get, so I did stress out about that one. I was able to get it, but that was one where I remember going to bed that night, like really, like I couldn't get it out of my mind. I was like, dude, I got to get that Killing Joke Joker no matter what tomorrow.
Yeah, and I think it's okay to have your main wants. I some people get to me just a little too dramatic about it though. Like it concerns me in comments when I see things like I'm gonna lose my mind if I don't get this one, or I can't live without this one. It's like it is really not that serious, you
And I
know.
think I think I've even done it to you where it's like the con day and we're looking online and I'm getting really pissed off because Barnes and Noble is like not working or something's not going live when it's supposed to or something went live early and I'll message you.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, I'm so freaking pissed off.
Yeah, and I think we were communicating actually. I was communicating with a couple of people when the Black Chrome Batman, that whole fiasco with
Hmm.
Barnes and Noble. That now I won't lie, that was one of my most stressful times because I'd already missed out on the blue and the value shot up like crazy on the blue Chrome Batman. So I was like, please let me get the Black Chrome Batman. And then they had issues with their websites to where multiple people got charged multiple times and did not get the figure.
Yeah.
So that was pretty aggravating. And later on, I did end up getting that into my collection thanks to it may have been a trade or somebody may have helped me out with that, but
Mhm.
yeah, that was a pretty stressful thing there.
Now, speaking of
Where
the Blue Chrome Batman, you know what I saw on somebody's channel? I think it was Noelle Foley. She's a Mankind, the wrestler Mankind's daughter,
yeah.
and she has a couple of her Funko Pop collection videos up. And one of the pops she has is the Blue Chrome Batman, right? And as she's going through it, she kind of looks into the box and she sees that the Blue Chrome Batman's chest has like fallen off. Like it literally
Oh, I
fell
saw
apart
that.
in the
Yeah.
box. I was like, dude, that sucks.
Yeah, I
Like,
saw
how
that and
cheap
she
is
was pretty
that?
disappointed. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, yeah, that's probably one of her most valuable pops, like, or in anybody's collection, or at the time. I don't know how much it's worth now, but I remember at the time it was pretty expensive. And I mean, it's inside of the box. It's not like it's out in the elements or being handled. It's inside the box, and it fell apart on her. I was like, that sucks.
Yeah, and that's something that's unavoidable. I will though say, not to get us off track, but I definitely do want to put out there that it's something I need to get better at doing. I see some people that are already on it, but especially for new collectors, the pops that you really value the most, definitely when you get them, go ahead and put them in protectors. I would suggest that
Oh yeah.
because I know I've had some pops that I still really love them, but yeah, I've seen some kind of wear and tear over time with me moving things around in my collection, and then pops, of course, stacked pops on top of pops, all of that or whatever. There's some wear and tear there. So, definitely take care of the pops that you do care about the most.
Yeah, I have every single pop in a protector, like, and you don't have to go out and buy these super expensive protectors. And I know a lot of people are like, well, these ones are this thickness and these ones are that thickness. I'm like, whatever, dude. The ones I buy are like these 50 cent protectors. They're super cheap. Sometimes they're even less than that. You get like 100 of them for like $39. And I just get that one. They're fine. I have mine stacked up really high. And whenever I've moved my collection around, I look at them and they're completely fine. You don't have to go out there and spend, a buck 50 per protector.
Yeah, and I'm looking back to I did pull back up also the conventions from this year. I feel like with ECCC that I don't think people were on edge too much. I mean, there were some people that were frustrated about the whole thing that we talked about last time with the Sour Patch Kid. Um,
Hmm.
and then of course there's the Blue Otter Pop that people were frustrated with last time as well. But I don't know if people like were totally on edge. I think New York Comic Con does have people on edge more than the other conventions from
Well,
this
I
year.
think too, like for me, the ones that are super rare, like that blue otter pop, that doesn't make me feel like I'm gonna miss out on that one because it's almost like I've already given up on that, or like the green sour patch kid. I know I'm not gonna get that one. The ones that annoy me are like say it's shared with Target, because Target is always such a wild card, or it has been a wild card in the past where you're not sure about their shipping is iffy, or like depending on which store, like my local Target store is awful. Like the pops are now in the very, very back corner of the store and they're all just kind of rammed in together and you really can't even look through them and they look like they're one step short of just getting put into a maintenance closet, right? So trying to get a con pop at that Target is just not going to happen. And I see other people that have great targets, but that's the kind where I'm like, look, I'm gonna go here. They should have it. Now I'm stressing out because I feel like they have it in the back, and this employee is just not gonna go look, and they're just gonna say whatever to me, and that kind of stresses me out more than some of these limited edition like 1,500 or 1,000 piece pops that are con only.
Yeah, and I will say with Target is kind of odd because there's been some times where my local Target didn't have the con pops at all, and I just had to go online. And then sometimes they do have them, and they set the limits or whatever, So it's kind of a toss up. I think you definitely have to get out into the stores and learn your area, like learn what to expect.
Hmm.
I remember my first con. I think because when I first got into collecting, I really didn't know anything about conventions. It's something that you have to watch YouTube videos and talk to people and you learn about it. So my first convention, I was out mad early. Like I was out an hour early to GameStop waiting, and
Hmm.
nobody else was there. Like it just
Yeah.
ended up being me. So I was able to go ahead and get whatever I wanted to, no problem. And like the guy that actually opened up the store, and like nothing was set up yet, so he was literally pulling the figures out of boxes, just so I could go ahead and check out what I wanted to. So you really just got to learn your area. And like that now that Funko has grown even more popular lately, now I know there's going to be a couple of people out. So if I really want something, I need to be there quickly just in case it is in small numbers. So again, you got to know your area. You got to know when the stores are going to open up. You basically got to plan. You can't sit back and wait and see what's going to happen.
Yeah, or think you're gonna show up like right as the store opens and
Yeah.
then get upset because you didn't get something, right? Because I've literally seen, the fear of missing out. Like I've literally seen people miss out, and you go, well, yeah, that's why people have FOMO because look, I literally saw this guy miss out, like with the King and Kodos. I go to this small little GameStop in a little town where 3 years ago I would be the only one there, right? I show up 15 minutes early, and nobody else would be there, and I'd be perfectly fine. 2 years ago, there'd be maybe another guy. This last time, there was about 5 people there before I even showed up, right? And that was still like 20 minutes early, so you can see how big Funko has gotten, right? But so we're waiting there, and we see that they have 4 King and Kodos, and I'm like, shit, dude, I'm the fifth person in line. I'm like, I'm not gonna get one, or I was the fourth, or something like that, right? And I was
Mhm.
like, man, if everybody decides to get one, I think I'm gonna miss out here. But one of the guys is like, oh, I don't want that one. I just want this one and this one. I was like, oh, good, dude. That means I might get it, unless he gets there and he changes his mind. But we did. And then there was a guy behind me who showed up literally 1 minute before the stores open, and he was super pissed because he missed out on the King and Kodos. I'm like, well, dude, you got here a minute before they open. Like, what do
Yeah.
you expect? But he literally missed out. So he was probably pissed about that the rest of the day because he was pissed. Man.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I mean, a good way to point out that the fear of missing out, again, it can be a positive thing in that it can encourage you to plan, because I feel like there are some people that plan to succeed, some people that basically, without even realizing it, they may be planning to fail. If you get to a store right when it opens, you're pretty much planning to fail. You,
Yeah.
if you can be there, then go ahead and be there, because what kind of surprised me last time with SDCC is that, I saw some comments from people where they were saying, well, I was hoping it would be there when I got off work, and I'm like, no, not if it's something that's highly sought after. And some people
Yeah.
made it seem like they could have gone to the store, and they chose not to, and then they act surprised when they go
Yeah.
there
They're
and it's
like
not
shocked.
available anymore. Yeah, so that fear can encourage you to go ahead and plan, and it has to be your plan. I do want to stress that as well, because of course one issue I run into doing Funko News is that there are some people that basically their plan is to wait and see what FM is going to share, and that's not really a plan.
Yeah, because
um
obviously you're gonna try to get yours first,
yeah.
and then share it. And by then, like some of these Funko Shop, like the ones that are shared with the Funko Shop, literally sell out in 30 seconds or 1 minute.
Yeah,
So it's
and
like, dude,
there's nothing you could do about that. You got to
yeah.
be on it. Yeah, you can't wait for somebody else, because by the time you see a community post, it's probably too late. You-
Honestly, I think that's where I feel the most stress is on the Funko Shop releases because they've figured out a way to sometimes put out certain pops that are really, really limited, which is smart. I think they should do it more often. They don't really tell you how many they are, but they sell out in like a minute.
yeah,
So you just never know which ones those are going to be. Like, would I have guessed that some of these Scooby Doo villains were going to be the ones that are selling out in a minute? No way. I just really would never have guessed that, but they do. So you just never know. Like even on something you go, oh, it's just a Care Bear, that'll probably be around. It could sell out in a minute too. You just don't know, and
yeah.
I feel the most stress with the Funko Shop, especially now because now it puts you in a queue, and then sometimes it makes you do a captcha to make sure you're not a robot, and you're sitting there going like, "That's all the goddamn street lights I see. I don't see anymore," and it's telling you like you're wrong, and you're stressed out, and that can be very annoying.
And again, with the Funko Shop, I will say though, because is some people will ask me, like in community posts especially, should I go ahead and get this? Do I think this will sell out? And I'll just say to people, like, if
I
you're
don't know.
interested in it and
Yeah.
you're there, go ahead and get it. Don't wait for my opinion on that. It comes
Yeah, that
down
is
to, what do you
strange.
want? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like going to a restaurant and then somebody goes, "Well, should I get the hot dog? I heard the hot dog's popular, but I really feel like a burger." I'm like, "Well, yeah, I guess the burger at this place isn't as popular as the hot dog, but if that's what you want to eat the burger." You know what I mean? Even
Yeah.
though this place is famous for hot dogs.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like I really don't tend to answer those questions, whether it's a viewer or sometimes even a friend. I'm like, just go after what you're interested in. That's really what it should come down to, because something else I definitely want to address with this whole FOMO thing is a lot of times people stress over, oh, I gotta have this because it's gonna be valuable. And then sometimes you see values plummet. Like,
Yeah.
you never can tell with that. Like, I remember especially once people found out that it was going to be vaulted early. You remember the Pennywise chase? People lost their minds
Oh,
over that
yeah.
for a while. And now you could get the Pennywise chase for like around 30 something bucks. Like,
I
it's,
think even less than that, man.
yeah, like the value has come way down.
You know
So
which another one like that was that My Hero Academia pop that was a Hot Topic exclusive. I think his name is Deku with the mask that's like half ripped off.
yeah,
Like
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
that
Yeah,
one at one point was what, like almost $300,
yeah.
and
And then
now
it
it's
got
worth like
reproduced.
15. You
Yeah.
know?
And it got reproduced, and it got reproduced. And yeah, it just brings values down. So, um,
No, and people bought that at like $200 because fear of missing out, going like, if
yeah.
I don't buy it now, it's going to be worth 300, and then it's going to be worth 400, and then I'll never be able to get it. Which is the case sometimes, but with that one, not so much.
And yeah, sometimes it helps just to wait a little bit. But again, you got to know the figures, because, like I said, there are certain ones that are just going to be gone. You got to learn. You got to basically pay attention to trends, I would say.
Hmm.
But then there are certain things where, like, it helps to just wait a little bit and see. Like, another good example of that is the Pennywise. Well, I keep saying Pennywise, but the It Chapter 2 box that was exclusive to Hot Topic. When that came out, it's like I knew I wanted it because I thought that Deadlight Pennywise looked pretty good. But I
Hmm.
was like, I don't have to have this right away. Let me chill for a little bit. Gave it a week, and they put it on sale. Like, they marked it down for like
For
12
20
bucks.
bucks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
yeah,
marked it
something like
down 12 bucks. Yeah, yeah, and it became $20. And it's like, that was not something I had to have immediately. And that could save you money just with certain things like that, just to give it a little bit of time.
Or even right now, like with isn't it $30 with hot cash? You can get it for 15.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, you got to just pay attention to trends. And I think also with that fear of missing out that some people have, some people become very cutthroat and they're all about self. And I think that causes people to actually end up missing out more in the long run.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've seen typically chill people like when we've been in line waiting for something, where you can tell they're normal people, but then you'll have that one asshole in the front of the line that has his mom, his grandma with him, maybe like an 8-year-old,
Hmm.
and they're all you can tell that mom and that grandma and that 8-year-old, they're not the pop hunters, it's him, right?
Yeah.
And they're gonna go up there and they're gonna try to buy as many as they can because they're gonna sell them, you know? And you can see other people online that are normal just start to get really, really aggravated, especially if it's like something like the Scare Glow situation, right? Where this one a-hole is like, it's limit one per person, but since he brought his family and gave them all cash, now they bought all four. And you're like, dude, really? Like, really? You're wasting your whole family's time to what? Make $80?
Yeah, and I'll say this as well. And I mean, this could be a whole other episode, and it probably will be at some point. But with any convention, with any limited release, there's going to be flippers involved. And my big thing about it, like for one thing, when people come to my channel complaining about flippers, I'm like, I'm not a complaints department about flippers. That
Yeah.
doesn't solve anything. And what people really need to do is just don't buy these pops at these huge prices, and then these sellers will be forced to bring those prices down. Like,
But there'll always be people where money isn't an issue, right? So
yeah,
they're always going to sell them. And I've also noticed that with a lot of the newer people that are collecting that I meet at these events where, you got all these pop collectors together, where I know a lot of people, well, I don't know a lot of people, but a lot of these people that I meet at these things, they're the only pop collector that they know. They don't have other friends that collect pops. So once you get all these pop collectors together, you start talking like a lot. And what I've noticed about the ones that just started collecting 4 months ago, or I just started collecting this year, they're looking at pops almost like stocks.
yeah.
The value is what's most important. And sometimes they'll ask me, oh, what's the most, what did you get last year or whatever? And I'll start mentioning them. And the first thing out of my mouth, oh, that one's worth like this much now, or that one's worth this much now. Or they'll ask you, which one's your most expensive one? That's kind of like almost their main focus. And I'm not saying everybody, it's just in my experience, I've noticed that a lot, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, it's fun. Like nobody's, I'm especially me, but who is going to tell you that, oh yeah, it really sucks when my pops go up in value, right? Everybody loves that. Everybody loves to see one of the pops in their collection is worth $300 or $400. Anybody that tells you that they don't care about that is lying. So part of the fear of missing out is that a lot of these people are viewing it as trying, not an investment, but part of the fun is to like pay $15 for something, then a year later it's worth $300. I mean, that's what is fun about it.
But I'll say this, you never, and really, it's very tough to predict that.
Hmm.
Again, I think go after what you are most interested in personally, because a good example of that, of course, was that I want to say it was 2017. I could look again to check to be sure, but Steve from Stranger
Yeah.
Things with the spike bat, the beat up version of Steve. Nobody expected that to end up being one of the most highly sought after pops and one of the most valuable pops from that convention. A lot of people got it just because they really like that character, and then later on all of a sudden people realize, okay, this is not being reproduced, and the value shot up. But again, it's about going after what you are most interested in, I think, in the long run. And yeah, the value thing can be fun, but it's so tough to predict that there's no telling. A lot of times there is no telling, except for, like I said, certain anime ones, the most popular anime characters, ad icons, those types of things are usually safe bets. But even with some of those, the value doesn't end up where you think it would be in the long run.
And also you got to look at it as like if it's a character that you really want, you can't be the only person in the world that really wants it, right?
Mm,
So even if something like Steve was more produced than something a little bit more rare from that con, the fact that you really want it means that other people probably really want it too. And that's what's ultimately going to create the value, right?
Yeah. And I say this too, because it's something that I think the collectors really need to realize, and have you have to accept this. If you're going to be a collector, you have to accept it that you can't have it both ways. You cannot have something that's going to be rare and super valuable but easy to get. That doesn't make sense.
No.
It can't be that way. So, some people get
Well,
really upset when they can't get something that's super rare, but yeah, it is super rare, and be thankful when you are able to get those figures sometimes, but it's not going to
although
be every time.
although that's true to an extent, because I do feel like sometimes people, it's like they don't want something until somebody else wants it. It's like, oh man, that guy's got a piece of turd in his hand. I want one too. And you're like, but it's a piece of turd, man. Like, why do you want that? Like, Steve, for example, let's do Steve again. Steve stayed on the Hot Topic website for a long time after the con. It's one of those ones that didn't sell out. And then I think the season two came out of Stranger Things. And then people started buying them. The value starts going up. And then that's when people want it. All of a sudden, it's like, oh, the value's going up. But when you saw it there on the website or you saw it at the store, you didn't want it then. How come all of a sudden you want it now? Well, it's because everybody else wants it, and you feel like I want it too just because it's vaulted now or it's hard to get now. And a lot of the pops I have were like that. Like the Cowboy Bebop Spike. That wasn't hard for me to get. I have two of them, because I bought one and then I went back to GameStop and I saw that, oh, this one has a little bit better paint job. I'm going to buy this one because I don't like the paint job on my other one. Now that pop is like 85 bucks, but it wasn't hard to get. Now it's hard to get because it's vaulted and now people want it. That's why it's 80 bucks because people are paying that high price. But where were those people when it was available at retail and it's just sitting on the shelves?
Yeah, and you know what? That brings up another good point that a lot of times people have fear of missing out, and they're focusing on these they focus on the stickers. They focus on
Mhm.
chase stickers. They focus on con stickers. There really are a lot of vaulted commons that have way more value than some of these con exclusives because I think when a common is vaulted, usually you don't see it again.
No.
When a con exclusive is supposedly sold out, a lot of times it gets reproduced later on and it drops the value. So yeah, you never can tell that. Again, don't overlook commons. I've said that before to people on my channel, and I remember one time I even did a top 10, my top 10 favorite commons, and some people were like, "Why'd you even bother to do this video?" That's how little some people think of commons, but you can't overlook them. You got to go after what you really want.
Yeah, and then just the word common, I guess, is like has a negative connotation, right? Oh, this is common. This is like some basic shit. But
Yeah.
it's really not. I mean, if it's about collecting like the actual characters, I guess. But yeah, see the stickers, they matter to an extent. Exclusivity matters to an extent. But in reality, an exclusive is either really easy to get or really annoying to get, right? And it really does, like, the stickers ultimately don't matter. Like, I without a doubt believe that there are more Chase Star Lords out there with that Chase sticker that everybody likes than, say, Spike from Cowboy Bebop. I'm pretty sure there are more Star
Yeah.
Lords than a lot of commons that are worth more than Star Lord. And like, say, like this Tony Stark, yeah, it's a convention exclusive, but is it really an exclusive when you can get it pretty much anywhere in the world? Is it really a San Diego Comic Con exclusive? Yeah, it has a sticker on it, but I'm guessing there are more Tony Stark for the Gauntlet than several commons combined.
Yeah, the Chase Star Lord is ridiculous. There's so many of them, and I hate to even think about it, but yeah, that it dropped the value pretty much to nothing. So
Yeah, it's like 20 bucks.
yeah, Chase doesn't have as much meaning as it used to have because some of them are, you might as well call them common chases now. So I just me personally, I think my views on collecting are so different from a lot of people to where I just can't identify sometimes, to be honest, because I don't focus on stickers a whole lot, and I have very few um figures that actually have the actual con sticker on it. And when
Mhm.
I see it, it's like it's like, oh, that's cool. and it makes me happy for about 10 seconds at the most. And then it's
Yeah.
like it's more about the figure. It's about what's on inside of the box for me more so than the sticker. So I'm not putting anybody down for having that focus, but I don't think it's healthy really to let that drive your whole collection because you never know how the value is going to change regardless of what that sticker is on the box.
Well, I mean, I'm looking at eBay right now. Funko Pop Summer Convention exclusive from 2017, 795 free shipping, selfie stick Gwenpool. That's an SDCC exclusive pop.
Yep.
795 shipped. It's like, dude, that's almost any common is worth more than that San Diego Comic Con exclusive.
Yeah, so yeah, the stickers don't always matter, and there are
It's the
sometimes
character that matters. In the end of
yeah
the day,
yeah
it's
yeah
whether somebody wants to rebuy that character. Like, I just bought a Lazy Luke, right? I highly doubt that Lazy Luke is going to go up in value because there's just not a market for him. There's just not a lot of people that are going to buy that. Whereas Tony Stark, there's probably 10 times, maybe 100 times more Tony Starks made, but there's also that many more Tony Starks fans, and it's only worth what somebody's willing to pay for it. It doesn't matter how rare something is, or if something has, I mean, it matters how rare something is, but it doesn't matter if it has this sticker or if it's only 3,000 pieces. If it's a character that nobody has heard of or nobody wants, that 3,000 piece character is still not going to be as valuable in the long run as a popular character with or without a sticker.
yeah. And you know what? I've gotten to the point. I'm thinking about value some more, and I've gotten to the point where I'll be honest. I have had my times where I wanted to get something because it's valuable, and sometimes that does feel cool. But I
Hmm.
think at this point, because I've been collecting for so long, and I see how much people stress over values, I've just gotten to the point where it's like I don't really care, as like nearly as much as I used to. I mean, the last time I thought it was kind of cool that I had something that was valuable was the Chase Broly, which I ordered on a whim because I thought, maybe I would do a giveaway with that.
Oh yeah, you got
And
really lucky
and
with that one, huh?
yeah, and it was cool and it felt good for a while, but then I was like, this is not something that really fits in my collection.
Yeah, you
This
have
is
no
something
connection
that
to it.
yeah, there's no connection to that. And it's like, and honestly, I would have done a giveaway for it at that point if anime fans weren't trashing me so much on my channel because again, and I see that a lot with anime fans having that fear of missing out. They stress a lot. They stress to the point that they try to put the stress on other people. And I'm not saying this is true for all anime fans, but there are some that stress so much
They're
that
all
they
a
get
bunch of
really,
degenerates.
really ugly with people, and it's just not that necessary. I can't understand. Maybe it's just me, but I can't understand being so concerned about getting a piece of plastic that I'm going to try to hurt the feelings of another human being. That's
Yeah.
where it gets ridiculous to me. And I really hope some people will really think about that and look in the mirror and be like, is it worth it? I don't care, just about the money because, like we said, the value can come down. At the end of the day, like what type of person are you?
Oh, that's the internet
Because
for you, man.
yeah, but when I look at some of the figures that were tough to get in my collection, I had them a lot of times because of connections in the community, because of people that I'm cool with and people that, like what I do and they want to help me out, So I've been surprised again and again and again. And it's not just about being a YouTuber. I think if you truly become part of the community, you make those connections and everything. Sometimes what you fear missing, you'll come across somebody that you're cool with that will be willing to help you out. They might have easier access to get something. So I really think that truly being part of the community is way more valuable than being that cutthroat type of person that's going to bring the whole family to the store to try to get everything that you
Yeah.
can, basically. Yeah, it helps you more in the long run to truly be a community member.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, to an extent. I'm one that I think I've only really traded with you. I've traded maybe a couple of other times, but yeah, I'm not too big. I'm pretty bad about making those kind of connections myself. But yeah, like there's things that I want. I might be bummed out, and then I just get over it really quick, and I just move on to the next thing.
And that's something else too that you see people that act like they can't live without a certain pop, and like it's the big deal for like 2 weeks,
Yeah.
and then it's on to the next thing. Like, and I've seen this again and again. Like, I can't think of the name of the character right now, but it's with the character that Chase figure from Destiny. You remember the alien
Oh
character?
yeah, Crota.
Starts with the yeah, exactly, Crota. There were some people that act like they were just gonna die if they could not get their hands on it, and a lot of them weren't even Destiny fans.
Yeah,
It's just
I
the
was
fact that
shocked
they
by
knew it's
that.
gonna be yeah. A lot of people just thought that this was gonna be very rare. It's gonna be high up in value, and like I said, it was the hot item for like 2 weeks, and then people moved on. Um,
Yeah, yeah. What was it
yeah,
up there? To 80, $100, something like
yeah,
that.
yeah. It
Selling them.
was up there, and then now it's like, who cares? You
And I
know,
was like, really, Crota? People, because I remember people didn't even like the Crota raid. I'm like, Crota, like, nobody liked the Crota raid. Crota was like easy to beat. I don't know. It's just that was one that was bizarre to me.
and it's one of those figures too that if you actually appreciate Destiny, I mean, you look at it and it's like it's a cool design, but like, why is it a standard size pop when
Yeah,
the
it's too
character
small.
is huge? You know what I'm saying? So that doesn't make a lot of sense. And of course, now if that figure had come out this year and Destiny was big, it'd probably be a 10 inch.
Yeah.
But regardless, like yeah, like so many people were like all over that just for about 2 weeks or so. Same thing goes with the 7-Eleven Deadpool.
Hmm.
People were like after that, like going to 7-Elevens, driving out of the way, all this and that or whatever. And
Yeah.
now,
One more sticker for the collection.
yeah, exactly. But now that figure has been reproduced, and even you can find it online pretty easily. So yeah, a lot of stuff is just it's almost like fads in a way. Like
Well,
certain
and that's
figures are sort of
how
like a fad.
certain figures end up, like in the hands of people. Like say that Winona Earp, right? That came out. What was it? 500 that they made. I highly doubt that the first 500 people in line for the Funko booth were all Winona Earp fans. I really doubt it. But they probably all bought her because they see, oh shit, that one's 500. That one's 500 pieces. That's going to be valuable,
Yeah.
And yeah, and it's mostly because of that. It's just no, I just want to get that to resell it, and that's
And
it.
yeah, and it's not always the case because I have I actually had two people that looked out for me with that the con only Fin du Chomp, from the Fantastic Plastic line or
Hmm.
Spastic Plastic line. And it's not a valuable figure. Even though it was con only, limited in number, it's not a valuable figure. Doesn't matter to me because I wanted it because I really did become a fan of that line. So I'm still happy to have it, even though the value is not there. So like I said, I just don't stress over value that much, but I do look at it this way too. Going back to that Chase Broly, like I know there were some people that felt some type of way about me having that, and it not me not being an anime fan, but and like I said, it would have been a giveaway prize if anime fans had been being so ugly to me during that time.
Well, you also got
But
to remember too, though, that sometimes the worst element in a fandom can sometimes be the loudest, right?
yeah,
Where there could be 10 anime fans that are being dickheads when there's probably 1,000 of them that are really cool. They're just not saying anything, you know?
yeah, yeah. But with that figure, I will say though, that figure allowed me to get something that I missed out on, and it was always, is in the back of my mind for a long time. But thanks to that figure, I was able to work out to get the Buff Rick and Summer 2 pack.
Hmm.
So um and I think sometimes, some people will get figures because they do want trade bait. They want to be able to get, something that they may have missed out on, which and we can get into this more in another episode, but it's something I want to put this question out there, and I want people to think about this for a while. And like I said, we can come back to the topic, but people that complain so much about flippers, sometimes people will go after rare figures because they know they're going to be valuable. And if you sell it, I mean, are you really going to sell it at the $15 that you paid for it? Or are you going to sell it for what it's trending at?
Yeah, nobody is. Nobody is that altruistic when say they have three Steves and they see they're trending at $80. Nobody is gonna go and put those Steves for sale for $20 shipped just because they want to be a great guy.
Yeah.
Nobody does that. And anybody that says that they would is lying.
Yeah, and I think the only exception to that is if you have a really good friend, a friend now, and a figure just came out and there's not really a trending value even set yet, then maybe you would, sell it to them for the cost plus the shipping, or you
Yeah,
might do a straight up trade with them. That's different.
yeah, like
But
me, you did that. Like
yeah, we've done that several times
I
actually.
picked up you could have gone to Thor probably easily, but I couldn't have gotten Buzz off, right? Because
Yeah.
I didn't have an FYE near me. I think it's FYE. And you're like, okay, I'll get this Buzz off. and I'd be like, oh, okay, let me get you a figure that's gonna both cost us the same. It's gonna cost you 15. It's gonna cost me 15. Was that a fair trade in the long run? Probably not, because I think Buzz Off is worth more than Thor, right? But it didn't cost us anything more. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? In that instance, yeah, I can see that happening with a good friend or a relative or something like that. I see that. But
Yeah.
anybody else that would say, like, I think I gave you that example of the headless Ned Stark, right? What if you were just some guy at a convention and you didn't really know what that Ned Stark was? You just, oh, it's kind of cool. I've heard of Game of Thrones. I've been meaning to watch it. Let me get that just because it's there. It's $10, and yeah, that's cool. You put it in your collection. You try to watch Game of Thrones, and you're like, you know what? I really don't like all this fantasy shit, man. I don't like this show, and I couldn't get past two episodes. Kind of forget about that pop. Several years later, you pull out again, and you're like, holy crap, this pop is worth $4,000. You're really not going to sell that? If you're not even a Game of Thrones fan at all, of course you're going to sell that. Does that make you a flipper? No, it makes you somebody that has something that's valuable, and you're going to sell it because I'd rather have $4,000 than a headless Ned Stark, and that's all there is to it.
Yeah. And at the same time, what I was about to say earlier is I don't get what's the difference between buying a figure because you have access to it, you know it's going to be valuable and that you can sell it and then maybe buy something that you want more. What's the difference between that and getting the set that same figure as trade bait so that you can trade it and get something that you want more? It's
Nothing really.
basically the only difference is there's one extra step. You have to sell it to get the money first before you can buy the other figure, as opposed to a straight up trade. So I don't really see the difference. And like I said, people complaining about flippers so much, we know that a lot of this fear of missing out comes down to people focusing on value.
Hmm.
That's really where a lot of it comes from. I think people need to be more honest with themselves. Stop acting so pious. This is just a part of collecting. It's just the way that it goes.
Hmm.
And I will say though, with that fear of missing out, if you are genuinely a fan of something, if you really are truly a fan of something, I understand having that fear. But again, do your part to go after what you're interested in.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, it is annoying when I see, like, I'll watch somebody else's another pop collector's YouTube video, and they're like, "Oh yeah, and I got this figure, and it's like a rare figure, and they don't even they you can tell that they haven't even seen the movie,
Yeah.
that the figure's from." And you're like, "Dude, you're all excited about this figure, you spent all this money, blah, 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 and you haven't even seen the movie, or or you obviously can't even pronounce the name right. Are you really a fan of that, or are you just buying that because you think it's valuable?"
Yeah. And nobody's a fan of all genres. There are some
No.
people that have every pop under the sun in their collection. Nobody's a fan of all genres. Like me, people that know my channel know me well enough to know it's basically Marvel, DC, horror. Those are my main three there.
Hmm.
And then every once in a while, I might mix in something from a movie or there might be an icon I'm interested in, but for the most part, it's those three. So I have a very focused collection, I would say, where some people is like everything under the sun. And part of it might be fear of missing out. Part of it might be, well, they just I hate to say it, but it's almost like obsessive to where they have to try to have everything. And then
Yeah.
you have some people that they'll buy it just, if they're a YouTuber, they might buy it just for content.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. Buying it just for content because you know that it's gonna be popular and you'll probably make enough ad revenue on it that it'll pay for those pops anyway. And then you
And
can just go ahead and sell them if you want. It's a
but
business.
but we know enough about ad revenue to know that there are some people that are not making that money up. It's for the content, but they're not
Yeah.
really making that money up out of it. So again, I think it's more about going after what you genuinely are interested in.
And
I
it
think that matters more
depends.
than anything else. Yeah.
It depends on who's watching it too. Like, I have a video that has, I don't know, maybe like 180,000 views on it, where I reviewed those Bendy and the Ink Machine pops. But that video didn't make that much money because I feel like it was mainly children that were watching it. And the algorithm, the ads do take into account who is watching your video. That's why I saw a really, and I don't want to get too off tangent, but there's this YouTuber named Boy in a Band. I don't know if you've heard of him. He has like a red streak in his hair. Um,
Um,
Pretty intelligent guy. I recommend his videos a little bit. But he did a video about the most expensive words, right? But it's basically breaking down, like, if you make a video about mortgages or insurance, stuff like that, insurance companies and mortgages, to get those clicks, pay way, way more than, say, McDonald's or something like that. Like, he broke it down, and he did all this research, and something like a mortgage keyword per click came out to like 40 something dollars or something like that. Something insane, just because the return for the people that are putting out these ads is so great that certain words, certain subjects always yield more in ad revenue. And let's not talk too much about that, because, most
Yeah.
people probably are just completely lost by now. But Boy in a Band's video about the most expensive words is pretty interesting.
Yeah, and I haven't been that way for a long time. Like I see a lot, on YouTube that people feel like, or it's partly YouTube, and then it's partly just collectors in general that feel like they have to be the first to have something. They have to be the
Yeah.
first to put it out there. Even if they don't have a YouTube channel, yeah, some people on social media, they like, they got to show it and show that they have it first. But
And
I,
honestly, in a way, that's kind of true, man. Like,
mm,
some of my biggest videos, like when I put out the Suicide Squad Funko Pop reviews, that one got a ton of views because I think I was the very first one that put out all of them, that put out pretty much all the comments. And then I did it with, I think, the Thor Ragnarok ones. I might have not been the very first one, but I was the first one that made a video with pretty much every single comment, and then a few of the exclusives. At the time, I think I had every single one that was available for Thor Ragnarok. And because I was first, I think, will propel that video into getting the views that it did.
but you're missing something important though with that, and this is something that people have to look at. It's not just about having it first; it's also about how you present it.
True.
Because
Yeah.
that video, like, if somebody else had that full wave first, but they have no personality, they don't have anything to really say about the figures, they're not, encouraging engagement on the video, then the video doesn't get pushed.
I
So
get to
it's,
you.
yeah, it's not always about having it first. Like, even with Instagram, if somebody just has an Instagram account and they want to share that they got something first, you still have some people that don't present it in any sort of interesting way. Like, there's some people, they're so eager to show that they got it. Like, you could literally see them in their car and the store still
Yeah.
in the background. Like,
Yeah.
they just have to show that they have it first. And I think that's a very short-lived thrill.
Hmm.
Whereas it matters more, I keep coming back to it to make sure you have something that you are genuinely interested in. I understand if you're so excited because you got something you genuinely care about, but if it's just about having it first, like I said, that's a very short-lived thrill. And I don't think it's going to, satisfy people in the long run, because then you have to do it again and again and again to try to
Right.
keep that thrill
Yeah.
going.
Yeah. See, yeah, there's so many things that I could have gone out and bought whole waves of things, but I just, I was like, no, why do I want to do that? Like, I don't want to get stuck with all these pops I don't want.
Yeah, exactly. And when you get to the point where you have hundreds of pops and you really have to manage your space, and it's not just about, like, some people look at my collection, they'll be like, "Oh, you got so much more space. You could go all the way up to the wall." Well, I don't want to go like all the way up to
Yeah.
like the ceiling with my pops. I don't want to do that. I
Yeah.
want to have things displayed in a way that is really appealing to my eye and organized in a way that I'm happy with. So, you have to make cuts at some point, and when you get to the point where you have to make some cuts, I think you will start to question things more, and maybe that will ease some of that fear of missing out when you realize, you start thinking to yourself, do I really need this? And sometimes the answer is going to be no.
And
you
that
know
all just all that all comes with experience. Like, I really, pretty much every pop that I have is something that I like. I have over 1,000, which is a lot, right? That is, I think Funko would call me a heavy user, right? But now that I look back, there's very rarely any of them that I kind of regret buying, except for when I kind of look at my Star Wars collection. A lot of them, I'm like, do I really need 4 Darth Vaders? Do I really need this many Han Solos? Like, those are the ones that I think I would go and like back and be like, you know what, I'm not gonna buy so many versions of the same character, because I don't. That's what I kind of like to do with my Marvel ones. Like, I may have a classic version of Iron Man, and then just one Iron Man from the movies, or I may have, classic Thor and then one version of Thor, or maybe two from the movies, instead of having every single one, right? And I feel like that's why my Marvel collection is more fun to look at, not just to me, but to other people, because it's not the same character so many damn times. And that's maybe one of the only regrets I have with like my Funko Pop collection is just too many Star Wars that I bought.
Yeah, and I'll say this too. Because I'm sure even with your Star Wars collection, even though you have some you may regret purchasing, you may have some that you missed out on that you'd like to have, and
Mhm.
I think that's an important part of collecting art. You should always have something out there that you're still seeking, because like what's the point if there aren't things that you can't quite get your hands on?
You
I
gotta
think
have that.
that's
You gotta have that Moby Dick out there.
yeah, that white whale. It's got to be, you got to have that going on. Otherwise, you're not going to be interested in collecting. That's what separates Funko from a lot of other products. There are some products that people have no interest in because they could get everything if they wanted to. It's readily available. So I think that is part of Funko's success, that there are those white whales out there that people are steadily going after. And like I said, if even though some people complain so much about they can't get this, they can't get that, if you could have everything you wanted, you probably would lose interest in Funko,
Well, not
to be
just lose
honest.
interest, not just lose interest. Like Funko Pops would be absolutely worthless
Yeah,
if you could just get
exactly.
everything you wanted. It would be like in the 90s when Marvel and DC and pretty much every comic book company, but especially Marvel and DC, got super greedy with the cover variants. It's like every single comic book had 12 different cover variants, and they were selling them. They were selling comic books at Costco. They were selling comic books at Toys R Us. They were selling comic books literally everywhere because it was just, I don't know if it was partly because of those X-Men cartoons or those Batman the Animated Series cartoons that kind of reinvigorated the fandom in some of these properties like that. And there was some that were, yeah, they were going up in price, but what happened is they overproduced everything so much, and literally anybody could get it. It's like my grandma would be like, "Oh, here, mijo, I got you these comic books. It's got a really shiny cover with these holograms and stuff on it," which you would think means, "Oh man, this must be really rare." But if my grandma was able to get it at CVS, it's not that rare, and the
Yeah.
bubble bursts, and everything is worthless.
And I think that's a good comparison to make comics with Funko, because with comics, what you have going on now, there are so many number ones that happen that number one doesn't mean much of anything now. It's just that chance to get in a new readership, basically, to get some more people in. So number one doesn't mean as much anymore. And you see the same thing happening with pops, where pops that are vaulted, they get reproduced with a new mold, and some people are like, well, why are they doing that? And it's like, well, they're trying to bring in more collectors, they're
Mhm.
trying to get attention there. And
Well, because
people
that's
will
happened in the
ask,
past with toys, man. That's happened in the past with toys where, like, they put out the first wave of He-Man toys, and it sells out really well. Everybody
yeah,
loves it. And then they put out a second wave. Well, guess what you're doing is if you don't put a He-Man in that second wave, the only people that are going to buy that second wave are the people that already have the He-Man.
yeah,
You know? So they have to
exactly.
put out a He-Man in the second wave, so people that missed out on that first wave can still come in and get a He-Man and a Skeletor, and then maybe some different secondary characters. But they're always going to be putting out new He-Mans in a Masters of the Universe toy line, and that's what they did.
Yeah, and it's all about supply and demand. Some people, I think, because Funko is more connected to their community than some other businesses. Some people look at Funko as like they're just collectors themselves. No, it's a business, and people got to remember that, because if you ask, why are there so many Batman and why are there so many Deku Pops? Because they sell to make money.
Mhm.
Why are there not more figures of a certain line? Because they're not selling well enough. 9 times out of 10, when you have a question about why Funko is doing something, the answer is to make money. They're a business.
Yeah.
And I'll go back to the anime fans. I hate to sound like I'm beating up on anime fans, but I know there are a lot of cool ones
You are
out there.
such an a-hole, man.
But but there are a lot of cool ones out there. But they say that they want to see more of this, they want to see more of that. Well, you got to purchase what actually is available, because like when I go to stores and I'm seeing like Yu Yu Hakusho, excuse me, and it's not moving, well, Funko's not going to be encouraged to make more of that. Or I see like Hooly Fooly and some of these other ones that people don't even want to give Funko credit for, because they have done a lot of new anime pops. But if those are not selling, then they're not going to be encouraged to make more of these anime that are not Dragon Ball and not My Hero Academia. So if you want to see more of something, you got to support it. That's what it comes down to.
See, and,
Funko is
and
a business.
the funny thing about that, which is, I mean, it's, I don't know if funny is the right word. I guess the interesting thing about that, like, let's say these Fully Cooley pops, right? Or I sound like such a douche when I say Fully Cooley. I just like to say FLCL. But these FLCL pops, they're pretty cheap right now, right? But the thing is, what's gonna happen is they're gonna put these out. Most collectors are like, oh, those are just commons. Oh, they're commons, right?
Hmm.
Then they don't buy them, so Funko makes they vault them, right? They go, oh, I guess this FLCL thing was a misstep. Nobody bought them. Now they're vaulted. Now when somebody finds out they're vaulted, and all of a sudden the price starts creeping up, then all of a sudden everybody wants it, and it's kind of like a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
It's like you want something like different and interesting and nostalgic. So they go, oh, let's make FLCL pops. Everybody loves that show. Well, I don't know about everybody, but it has a cult following. They come out, everyone's all, oh, they're not worth anything. I can buy Naota for 725 on eBay. That's garbage. I don't want it. So nobody buys them and they get vaulted. It's just a vicious cycle. And then once they're vaulted and expensive, now everybody wants them. And I think it's
Yeah.
what happened with the Cowboy Bebop ones too. If they would have slapped a sticker on those Cowboy Bebop pops, they probably would have sold more. And it probably wouldn't even be worth as much as they are now. You know what I mean? Because they would have sold a bunch and Funko would have made more and more and more. And they just wouldn't be worth anything.
Yeah, I agree. It absolutely is a cycle. We're seeing it again and again, and that's why people really need to just get what you are genuinely interested in. Like I said, focusing on value really is creating that cycle. So yeah, that's what I'm always going to come back to. Get what you're mainly interested in. Anytime somebody asks me what should I buy, well, I'm just like, well, what do you like? I'm that's going to be my response every time because I'm not focusing on value. And I think people know by now my favorite pop in my collection is Notorious B.I.G. and
Mm-hmm.
it has nothing. The original Notorious B.I.G. has nothing to do with the value. It is because I really appreciate that artist. I still love his music. So that's like I said, that's what I'm always going to come back to. It's about what I'm really like, what has some nostalgia for me, what has some meaning for me, basically.
You know what another good example of that is? So I really love Scooby Doo. Always loved it, even as a kid, even as a teenager, even as an adult. I've always thought Scooby Doo was cool and funny, right? Everybody's least favorite character out of Scooby Doo, most people would probably say Velma, right? Velma though is the most valuable one from the original 5 Scooby Doo pops that they put out. They were all commons, and people were like, "Oh, Velma, I'll get her later. She's probably gonna be really cheap." What does Funko do? They stop making them because nobody's buying Velma. And now, if you want to buy her, you got to pay like $100, or win an
Yeah.
auction.
Yeah, and like that I really think people should, maybe even right after you check this out, go back and look at some of those comments that you're really interested in, and you might even want to put more focus on there. Now, I know if you have some main wants from the con, definitely go for those, but you might want to look at some of these comments that you keep thinking are going to be there later on. You might want to go ahead and get those. So
And
I think some
This
people
Velma,
are.
I'm looking at eBay right now. Like the cheapest one is at $36, right? $5 shipping, but it's an auction. It's got 18
Yeah.
bids on it. It's three
Mm,
days. I mean, that's gonna definitely go up to at least 80 or $90.
yeah. So yeah, like I said, I'm not going to say completely overlook conventions, still go for your main wants there, but as far as a fear of missing out is concerned, you might be placing your fear in the wrong place. You might need to
Yeah,
look at, like we said, some of these comments that might not be around for much longer.
yeah, they fly under the radar, right? These they because they get put out without much fanfare, and they don't have stickers on them. They're commons, but when you really think about it, some of they're the base of a collection. Like, how are you going to have a Scooby Doo collection without Velma or without Fred? What, you're just going to have a bunch of different colored Scoobies? It's just, how is that a good Scooby Doo collection? Obviously, I think it's way more impressive. Somebody looks at your Scooby Doo collection, you have every one of the gang, and then you have your villains, right? instead of just, oh well, the original Scooby Doo pops were commons, so I didn't get them, and they got vaulted. Now they're too expensive, so I just have a bunch of Scooby Doo villains. The hell kind of collection is that?
Yeah, exactly. And I want to say this too, and I think we are probably getting, about to the end of a good runtime here, but I definitely want to point out as well that no convention is the end of the world, the end all be all, because every time there is a convention, people are so on edge, they're so worried about getting those figures, but then before you know it, I have people hitting me up, hey, have you heard anything about what's going to be available for the next con? So and the cons are spaced out just enough to really encourage that type of feeling. You know what I'm saying? So even though New York Comic Con at the time of this recording has not hit yet, of course we already know about the LA Comic Con pops, which there's just three, but I think they each look amazing. I definitely want to get all three of those. And it's again because I'm genuinely a fan. Of course, people know me. I'm a fan of Harley Quinn. So Harley Quinn in pretty much any new costume, I'm down for that.
Yeah, yeah, I
They.
wanted to speak about that. Like, definitely out of these three, we got Harley Quinn.
Hmm.
You've got, see, you're more in tune with the comic books than me. The Ghost Rider holding the baby Thanos. What do you know what that storyline is?
Yeah, because I actually read the comic, and in fact, if people check out my video that I started off the year with, I had a video at the beginning of the year that of pops that I was hoping to see this year, and Cosmic Ghost Rider was on that list. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm very happy to see that, and I actually have the comic. I read the comic of him with Baby Thanos. So just to give sort of a brief view of it, I don't want to ruin the story or anything, but Cosmic Ghost Rider is actually Frank Castle, the Punisher.
Okay.
So he became Ghost Rider, and then along with that, he got the cosmic power, which is like this something that's been given to different characters within the Marvel universe.
And what are they
It's
going back in time to take this Thanos out while he's a baby? Because this dude's got to
exactly
go.
that
Okay.
that's the gist of it. Because Thanos basically becomes powerful to the point where
Mm-hmm.
he pretty much destroys everybody else in the universe. So it's kind of like just him and Ghost Rider kicking around, and Ghost
Yeah,
Rider,
because I mean it's a cool looking pop. Like I
yeah.
kind of want to get that one based on pure design. Yeah, just like you, I'm a big Harley Quinn fan. I have a big
Mm,
cutout of Harley Quinn in my collecting room, and I really like this look of her in the Robin suit. I like how they did the two different colors of makeup around her eyes, or
yeah.
I don't know if that's makeup or they're supposed to be lenses or what.
Well,
But really
yeah, it
like the
might be
look
it
of
might be
that.
the mask. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like the look of that. The Venom one, I think it looks cool, but that's another one I have no idea what it is. And I already have a cool Venom. I have that Venom that was from what was it, Walgreens, I think, and I think that one looks cool. So I'm probably gonna skip that one, but I'm definitely gonna try to get those other two.
Well, like I said, I'm a fan of all three. Obviously, I love Harley Quinn. Like I said, I'm very much into Cosmic Ghost Rider. It's probably like then chances. I wouldn't be surprised though if they did another one of him without Baby Thanos because that does focus on just one particular storyline, of course. But
That is the coolest part about it, though. I think. I mean,
yeah,
obviously the head, the way they did the head, kind of like they did the Fire Jack from Incredibles. It's kind of like that same style, which I think is really effective. It looks
yeah.
really good on that Ghost Rider, and just the baby, the baby Thanos right there. For me, puts it over the top.
Yeah, and the corrupted Venom, I would love to have the actual glow in the dark version, which is con only, but I'll settle for the shared version, the non-glow version. And corrupted Venom, is sort
Do
of
you
a
like that?
new,
Do
yeah,
you like that?
absolutely.
See, I like because that makes it a true con exclusive. It would be cool if they did that a little bit more with San Diego Comic Con, New York Comic Con, and really, because then they're really creating some rare pieces, but since it's just a glow effect, they don't really look different. Like I wouldn't be too upset with that. Like if some of the pops at the con were glow in the dark and the ones that are shared like with Australia and the rest of the world and all these stores and everything just didn't glow. I think I would like that.
Yeah, and they did that last year with LA Comic Con with the Ghost Rider Doctor Strange as well. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to getting that. And Corrupted Venom is sort of based around this new origin story for the symbiotes. Like there's this basically symbiote god or whatever that's kind of reaching out and corrupting the symbiotes that still exist in the Marvel universe. I haven't actually read that origin story. I'm gonna get the collected edition when it's available and check that out. But yeah, so I feel like I kind of know the background to all three of these, so I want them in my collection because again, I genuinely do like them, and I don't think they're going to be super difficult to get. They weren't last year, or the year before. I know Funko was more popular, but again, this is my attitude. If I don't get them right away, they're going to be out there. And that's something else that kind of kills me sometimes when the collectors speak and they act like, I missed out. Oh well. It's like, well, the figures are still out there, and there's going to be some people that at some point they may not really want them, and there's going to be those people that will sell them at reasonable cost as well. So as long as the figures still exist, then I don't think things are necessarily hopeless. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I know that we had, some other things that we would have liked to touch on, but I think we
Um,
can, save some things for the next episode, if,
well,
unless you want to address
do
something
you want
more.
to talk about just random stuff that's not pops? Because one thing that disappointed me in this last week, is pretty disappointed about it, was I was hoping for a major cleansing by the military on some of the most annoying people I think on the internet, and those are the people raiding Area 51.
Uh,
And I was hoping the military was going to hand out at least a couple hundred Darwin awards to some of these idiots that went out there.
well, I'm glad that I didn't really follow that too much. I am glad though that the person that kind of started this all up did, try to move the location, realizing that people could actually get hurt out
Yeah,
there.
yeah, I'm just joking.
So
I'm joking, but
yeah, but
still.
I'm glad that that did happen. It's still a very weird thing to me. It's weird how these viral things take off and people just completely go with it. But
Yeah, the people that actually showed up, and I think it's funny, like they all showed up thinking that was this was really gonna happen, and it was just ended up people selling them merch and
yes,
beer.
basically a rave because everything gets monetized now.
Yeah.
That
Wow.
that's what it is. Like, and it kind of reminds me, like, I saw some footage of what, because it's pretty easy to see like the performances from Coachella. But I
Mhm.
saw some footage of what Coachella actually looks like in between performances, and it's just a bunch of people walking around with their cell phones trying to get pictures, to show that, oh, I'm at Coachella.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I used to go to Coachella when I lived down in Southern California,
mm,
and I'm a music festival guy. I like going to music festivals, but I kind of stopped going to some when they become too commercial. You can definitely tell the difference in the crowd. Like I go to Bottle Rock in Napa every year. First year, great lineup. You can tell these are music festival people at this show. It was a younger crowd. People were there for the music. 5 years later, man, it is it is basically like Instagram threw up all over the place. It is just a bunch of people with their festival outfits on. You can tell. Like sometimes I look at people and I'm like, dude, girl, those shoes, your feet are gonna be killing you by the end of the day because you wore these shoes that you thought were gonna look cute, and it's just completely inappropriate for a festival. And everything becomes expensive. It becomes commercialized, and Coachella is that times 100.
yeah, it's I guess it's becoming the Fortnite of festivals,
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's just like
which yeah, everything popular has its heights. Obviously, that's why it's popular. That's why we call it popular. But eventually, some people will turn on things, that are popular. So we'll see how that goes in the future there.
Oh, one last thing. What
What
are you streaming right now?
right now, I really need to find what to watch. I was just messenger with a friend that started Carnival Row. I'm really not sure if I want to invest time into that though.
Never heard of that.
It's an Amazon Prime series. It's kind of that steampunk type of setting, Victorian type of setting going
Is it
on.
animated?
No, 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 no. It's
Huh.
live action, but it involves characters like it's almost like you remember the movie Bright on Netflix
Yes.
where yeah, unfortunately, I know you remember it,
I hate
but
it.
it's sort of like that where it's like it's supposed to be like the real world, but then there are these fantastical characters mixed in, and it's like they're second class citizens
And they're
basically.
like steampunkish.
Yeah, yeah. So it's that whole type of vibe going
Oh,
on,
to
but
me.
I watched a review of it. It seems like the series trying to do too much, so I'm
Yeah.
just not sure if I'm going to invest into that. I'm really trying to find something else to check out.
You
I
know
did
what wasn't
get
bad was the
uh,
loudest voice, that Roger Ailes. It's like a mini series with Russell Crowe. That was pretty good. If you don't know, Roger Ailes is the guy that started Fox News, and there was like a sex scandal with him, of course. But they made a dramatization of it. I think it's 7 episodes, maybe 6 or 7 episodes. It's not very long, but Russell Crowe's performance in it is really good. He's like almost unrecognizable. I can't even tell if he's wearing a fat suit in it or if he really gained that weight. Either way, it's impressive if you gain the weight, or if that's a fat suit, that's impressive because it looks real. It looks extremely real.
I know he may have actually gained the weight. He's done it in the past before, so
Yeah, or it's a combination of the two or something.
yeah, so I might have to check that out. I'm trying to find something different to watch. I actually do have Endgame on Blu-ray. I haven't watched it
Oh,
again yet. I really want to though, but I won't lie. Like I feel like I got to be in the mood for it because it is a long movie and you really don't feel the time too much. But it's also I got to be in the mood for it just because it's an emotional movie. Like
yeah,
it's
it's
more
exhausting.
emotional than I expected. Yeah, and there's so many, especially towards the end. There are so many emotional moments. It's like I feel like I got to be in the mood to check it out again.
Yeah. I'm also watching the second season of Disenchantment. I really like Disenchantment. I like The Simpsons. Um, Futurama, I thought was okay. It wasn't my favorite thing in the world though, but I really like Disenchantment. It's by the same people. Yeah, really good. And I think the pops for Disenchantment turned out excellent.
And you know what? The Bean figure that's a Barnes and Noble exclusive. My Barnes and Noble still has one sitting there,
Yeah,
and I
I
was
don't think
like,
the show's too
maybe.
popular.
Yeah, and I was like, maybe I should pick that up. I don't think it was produced in big numbers, and that's not the reason I would want it. It's just because I feel like I do want to go back to that series, and if, as a matter of fact, I think that's something I want to stream. I want to get back to it because I've only watched maybe 3 or 4 episodes,
It
and I
picks
would.
up.
Yeah, I was enjoying it. It's just not like it's not a laugh a minute series. You know what I'm saying?
No.
It's more slowly paced, so it's just an adjustment, I think.
Although there are certain characters that do make me laugh, like the king. I think is funny. I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
all the
definitely.
jokes with Bean are funny. Surprisingly, I think the least funny part about it is Eric Andre. And I was
I
looking for
it's
Eric
a
Andre
yeah.
most. I was like, oh, Eric Andre is voicing a demon. That sounds incredible. It's Eric Andre, and I feel like he is the weakest one.
I didn't know he was capable of being that calm and focused,
Yeah,
actually.
right.
But he has a great voice. I really do like his voice, and
Yeah,
I think
the
that's
writing.
intentional for him to play against type, for him to be the sort of the voice of reason almost in a way
Yeah,
within the
yeah.
series. I think that's
Yeah,
intentional.
you're right.
So
Probably right about that because yeah, I'm
yeah,
used to Eric Andre running around like yelling "bird up," like
yeah.
shit like that, or scaring people. But yeah, actually, yeah, he's probably the most, I don't want to say normal, but his character makes some kind of like his motivations make the most sense sometimes.
Yeah. So, but I think I'm gonna get back to that series and check it out. And if I'm
You
really
should.
enjoying it, I think I will pick up that Bane figure, go ahead and add it to the collection.
Yeah, you should. And I think the first season ends stronger than it begins, and I think the second season starts out pretty good as well.
Yeah, and I might after this might go ahead and check out a couple episodes because
And
it
it's an
does move
easy
pretty
watch, man.
fast.
30
Yeah,
minutes.
exactly.
It's animated. It's light.
Yeah, and I definitely want to do I do want to hear suggestions, from people. Let us know what you're checking out right now. What are you streaming? What are you binge watching? All those types of things. Also some things you're looking forward to. I gotta say real quick, definitely. I finally, they put out another trailer for The Last of Us 2. For PS4 that
Oh,
drops
I haven't
in.
seen that.
I think I think the date they said on it is February, if I'm not mistaken. But I'm so looking forward to that,
Yeah.
and that is definitely going to kill some of my YouTube productivity when it drops because I absolutely love that game. I love the first one. I still play the multiplayer on the first one sometimes, and I may run back through the story as well. But
What
yeah,
do you
that
think about
trade.
some people wanting to make that into a movie?
No,
They'll ruin it, right? They'll find a way to ruin it.
it makes no sense to me because the video game
It's like
is
a
already great. It's like sometimes changing one form of media into another form of media does not make sense. And I think that's a good example of it. It's just like somebody with a successful YouTube channel, like, like I like Good Mythical Morning. Good Mythical Morning does not need to be turned into a cable series. Why? Like they're already doing their things, just fine. It's
Mhm.
like Jeremy John's movie reviews, which I really enjoy. He actually talked about this one time on his channel. He said on his channel, he gets to do things his way. If he wants to put up a review that's just a couple minutes, it's good to go. He's not locked into doing a certain runtime. He's not locked into watching what he says, necessarily and all of that. So sometimes, yeah, changing media doesn't make sense.
Yeah, no, and also I could see Jeremy Johns all of a sudden. it's just whatever. It's like a regular news program or like whatever, some kind of bridal show or whatever, where
Yeah.
they'll fit in a reviewer, right? And all of a sudden you see this squirrely guy with this ocean spray looking haircut come out to
Mm.
like animatedly give a movie review. It's probably going to alienate most people.
Yeah. And then he's just
Hell
lost in the
is this?
shuffle. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he becomes a failure, and then nobody will ever give him a chance to do anything ever because he failed big time.
Yeah. He'd just be like, yeah, I mean, this is maybe a deep reference for some people, but like in the first Wayne's World movie where they did the network show, and like they're about to do their intro song, and then that corny version of it gets played over them. It's just like it'd be that type of thing. Like you
Yeah.
don't want to water down stuff when it's already the way that it needs to be. And I think The Last of Us is just fine the way it is. It doesn't need a movie,
Or I've even seen it within YouTube. Like, there used to be, and it's still around, but there was this like these videos called Because Science, and it was this guy that came out with like long like Thor hair and a beard, and he explained like, could Wolverine's claws really work in this way, or what would really happen if Gambit decided to like charge the whole world, right? And he kind of breaks it down all scientifically. And on the channel it was originally on, it used to get like 500,000 views in the first day. And then he decided that, because science, I don't know if he decided it or who or what, but because science was the biggest series of videos on that channel, they decided to separate Because Science and make it its own channel because I guess either the dude or whatever was like, well, I'm the workhorse here. Now his videos don't even get 10% of the views it used to get when it was on this other channel.
Wow. Yeah, you just got to know your. I think it's a confidence thing at sometimes, and definitely not always focusing on. I feel like I keep coming back to this. Not always not value necessarily, but not focusing on money necessarily. Not focusing on numbers. Sometimes you just gotta feel where your niche is, find it, and be satisfied with that, and roll with it.
Mm. Or some of my favorite things to watch on YouTube is like when someone like Ralph the Movie Maker or something breaks down and does like a long format 30-minute review of other YouTubers' movies, like movies that be like Smosh the movie or like Fred the movie, because they are probably the worst movies ever made, right?
Oh
And they just
yeah,
tear them apart.
yeah. I don't even want to think about Fred. To be honest, I don't
Oh,
want that
dude.
voice in my head.
But this guy, the way he does it, it's funny. Like, yeah, actually, do you have any recommendations for YouTube channels? Because I would definitely recommend Ralph the Movie Maker. Funny, does funny reviews, and also I've been binge watching. Of course we binge watch streaming thing, but I've been binge watching this channel called Down the Rabbit Hole. Have you heard of that one?
No.
It's Down the Rabbit Hole, and he basically just finds the weirdest stories, not just from the internet, just the weirdest stories in history, and does these little documentaries on them. But they're not all hyperactive and everything. He just has kind of like this creepy kind of music, and he just kind of talks about it. And I highly recommend his videos.
For me, I've been watching a lot of the same stuff lately. I'm pretty sure people are familiar with Good Mythical Morning. I like them, even though their episodes can be hit or miss. But overall, I really do enjoy them, and I'll go back to a lot of my favorite episodes with them as well. Um, but yeah, most of what I've been watching lately is a lot of, I think, things that you're pretty familiar with. I watch a lot of Angry Joe Show
Mm.
because I think he does have the best video game reviews, in my personal opinion. They're pretty entertaining. He's very blunt about things too. I love his rants. Um, some people's rants, it's like all anger. It's not very focused. He has that ability to be angry and yet be very focused and thoughtful at the same
Yeah,
time.
he makes
So
points. I think, yeah, his video game reviews are definitely top notch, and his complaints are usually pretty valid.
yeah. Now his movie content,
Uh,
no. Like his trailer reactions, his movie reviews, no. I just pretty much ignore that. I just go for what I like. That's my attitude too about some channels is, when they have a variety of content, you don't have to embrace it all. You just go with what you like,
yeah.
from that channel. So that is what I embrace from his channel. I have watched some of the movie stuff, but it's just not for me. So, you
No,
know,
and I don't like the other co-host on there. He just seems to be a contrarian for no reason. And Other Joe I like. Other Joe actually
Yeah.
think does have good points about the movies, but Angry Joe doesn't let him talk. He just talks over him the whole time. So
Yeah, and
yeah,
he
watch
he
this.
got a lot of heat for that in the comments sometimes too, and it's upset him, but it's I think valid, you know.
Although one of the one reviews that I do like movie reviews by them, not so much because of the way they reviewed or anything. It's just that when they reviewed Suicide Squad, Other Joe looks identical to the actor that played Slipknot.
Oh, yeah,
He
I know
looks
who you're talking about.
identical
Yeah.
to it. It's just like you're sitting there and they're like, "Holy shit, they killed off Joe!" And it's like, "Oh man!" But when you look at them, like, dude, they look so identical. It's hilarious.
Really, the only other recommendation I would make, and let me find the name real quick. I'm actually going down my list. It's a channel I subbed to recently because it's called Corridor Crew.
Okay.
And what I like about them is they're basically special effects artists, and they will do these reactions, like they react to good and bad visual effects in movies.
Oh,
And they also have a series where they do like they have a stunt man come in and they do reactions to like good and bad stunts. And some of the stuff they point out in movies, like they point out some really interesting things that I just didn't notice before. And I find that really interesting. Like I think I mentioned it to you before, like in The Dark Knight Rises, there are some guys in the background that are falling down for no reason. Like there was no hit even like thrown towards them. So it's like they point out those types of things in visual effects as well. Sometimes they'll actually take visual effects that didn't turn out well to see if they can rework them some, like The Rock and the Mummy, you know,
oh
the whole
god,
Scorpion
man.
King thing, that horrible effect. They actually took that and worked with it some. So if you're deep into movies, yeah, Corridor Crew is pretty interesting. They even had these videos where they took like Marvel movies and made them rated R. So like they took the action scenes and then like added in violence, you know.
Really?
So
Wow,
yeah.
and they make it that convincing.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's really entertaining.
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now. I know there's one I want to click on already. It's VFX artists react to bad and great CGI, Corridor Crew, and it's for the Cats trailer. You see,
Yeah.
have you seen the Cats trailer? I'm like that. That's something I want to click on because yeah, that there's like that trailer was fascinating to me. I was like, what is this? I don't think it was necessarily bad. It was just like unsettling in a weird way.
Yeah, very creepy. Very
It's
creepy.
Furries the movie.
Yeah,
Well,
basically.
so that guy I told you about that channel down the rabbit hole. Like he has this one episode on furries, and he'll go to this guy does research like he's researching like the most important thing in the world, right? And he goes back to the very first time the actual word furry was mentioned and what created that. And he'll go through just the whole history of it. But he'll do it in like this very, very serious way. So that's kind of some of the things he does. Kind of out there kind of thing, kind of you might have to be extremely bored or you might just have to really appreciate that kind of weird stuff like that. But yeah, for example, that's one of the things that he does.
Okay, well, I just pulled up his channel. I'm gonna make sure I do uh check him out. Wait, is that the actual name of his channel, Down the Rabbit Hole?
Yeah, down the rabbit hole, and his logo is like a no. His the actual channel's name is Frederick Knudsen.
Okay. Okay. But yeah, I did search his name that came up. So yeah, Frederick Knudsen. I'll check him out.
Yeah, and then another recommendation from him would be the Final Fantasy House. That was one of my favorite ones. Of course, the Sonichu one is a funny one. I don't know if you've heard of Sonichu, but that's a good one. And the Empress Teresa one's kind of fascinating. Uh, but yeah, it's but then he'll have some legit historical ones. Like he'll have one about plague doctors, and he'll kind of give you the whole history of plague doctors. And then he has one on the hurdy-gurdy, that weird hurdy-gurdy instrument that a lot of people don't realize are listening to a hurdy-gurdy. Like I think they use it hurdy-gurdy music like during The Witcher or kind of weird medieval fantasy movies because it does create this kind of eerie and kind of old-timey fantasy Middle Ages type of sound. And it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, and I see that he has one on Rings of Redemption, which is he's a video game streamer that's like notorious for blocking people and being rude to people and everything. And I actually found out that he actually lives not far from me, which
Oh
is
no.
crazy. But yeah, I see he did a super long video on him.
That was his newest one, and I was like, wow, a 2 hour video on this guy, and I actually watched all 2 hours, not in one sitting, but I was doing paperwork and I kind of had it in the background, and yeah, he's able to turn someone like Wings of Redemption interesting enough to last 2 hours.
Yeah. And in fact, yeah, I'm about to, yeah, I'm gonna be checking out Angry Joe's new video because I knew he was gonna put up a new video about something that happened related to Fallout 76, which has just been a disaster, that game, and
Oh yeah.
the um the merch and everything associated with it. Yeah, so I had a feeling he was gonna do a video soon. So yep, I'll be checking that out.
All right, man. Well, been a good talk.
And yeah, I do want to remind people as well, feel free to drop some questions down in the comments. We definitely will check those out, and we want to start addressing some of those in future videos. We did get like just maybe, I think I only saw maybe like two or three thus far. I definitely want to see more questions. I'm glad to see. I definitely do appreciate the response thus far for the first episode. There are a lot of people that did seem excited about the podcast, and we definitely appreciate that energy from you all because we do want to keep this moving along. But yeah, we'd like to address some questions as well. So anything related to whatever we talked about or just something in general that's on your mind, feel free to drop your questions. And like I said, we will try to address some of those in future episodes.
Yeah, or even like, hey, don't be shy. If there's something that I did that annoyed you or something like that, go ahead and tell me. I'll work on it.
Yeah, and I know we definitely address some things that some people are going to disagree with, and if as long as you are respectful about the way that you express yourself, we definitely welcome that. You don't have to agree with everything that we're saying here. So
Yeah,
yeah, we definitely look forward to honest feedback. We look forward to your questions. All of that will be greatly appreciated. You have anything else you want to say, Collecting
no,
Plastic?
that's it, man. Thanks for listening. Really appreciate it. This went a little long, but hopefully, you found it entertaining.
Yeah, and we're not going to have a certain time. We'll just go with the flow of the conversation. Basically, we had some things we thought about, addressing. But we'll see what happens. We're going to keep the flow going, basically. But yeah, thank you all so much for checking out this latest episode, and we will talk to you all again real soon.
Take it easy.